Snooker, loopy, nuts are we, me and him and them and me. We'll show you what we can do with a load of balls in a snooker queue. Pop the reds and screw back for the yellow, green, brown, blue, pink and black. Snooker, loopy, nuts are we, we're all snooker, loopy.
Hello and welcome to the final edition of our final coverage of the final of the Crucible, the World Championship 2024, whatever you want to call it. Me and Joe have just finished watching the final, so if you don't want to know the results, I was going to say turn off now, but you've probably seen the thumbnail, so it's already too late for you. You've probably already ruined it for yourselves.
Spoiler alert.
But spoiler alert, we've just watched the final, and of course my name's Tom Mayhew. I'm joined by my very, very good friend. His children, Finley and Bailey, are in the audience. It's the Ultimate Warrior, Joe Hannard, because I think Kyren now is the Ultimate Warrior, mate, not just a warrior. And I think, really, I know I've used the Warrior a number of times over this championship, mainly because I liked going, come on, Daddy, because I found it so bizarre. But I've used it a few times, but really, I think this championship was Kyren's. I think this is one of those times where you look at the champion and no one can say he didn't deserve it. You just have to go, fair enough, mate. You were the best player throughout the tournament. You were the best when you had to be in that match, the first session especially. You built the lead that you needed. A worthy champion, right?
Well, before I get into that, Tom, good evening, Hazel. Good evening, everybody at home. Yeah, it was undoubtedly a deserved victory for Kyren Wilson. There'll always be the question marks and perhaps the asterisks of would he have got over the line against one of the real top players of our sport, and who knows? The beauty is we'll never know. Kyren Wilson will always be a world champion. He has equalled the tally of Neil Robertson, Shaun Murphy, Stuart Bingham, and of course his big rival Judd Trump to one world championship. And I'm delighted for him. I would have been delighted for either of them, actually. I think those two players were the story of the tournament. So it makes sense that they got to the final, and that will forever be the 2024 World Championship.
Jack Jones, we should say, obviously, as you've said, fantastic throughout the tournament. I actually think, even more so than yesterday, he was playing even more positively than he did in previous rounds of the tournament.
Yeah.
He never really got bogged down with safety play like a lot of people thought with the way that Jones had played against Bingham and Trump. He actually came out and he played smart, but it wasn't too defensive. I think he played very well. He almost mounted an incredible comeback. Of course, it ended 18-14, but we should say that Kyren, he won one frame where they had that black ball battle, and he won another frame where there was a respotted black.
And he fluked it.
He fluked it. So two balls differently, it could have been 16-all, then who knows? Like, that's how close it really came.
Yeah.
When you consider the first session, like, incredible performance by Jones. You've got to give it to him.
Oh, absolutely. I think, he came out today and he gave it his all. Kyren did what he had to do today, just about, in the end. Jack Jones did ride his own luck a little bit at times as well. There was I think it was at 17-11, 17-12, when he'd went for a long red, missed it by about 6 miles, and it smacked the Reds open. Kyren wasn't on anything, but then, of course, Jack Jones got down and got to 96 in a 147, missed the 13th red, unfortunately, but what a moment that would have been if he'd managed to get a 147 when everybody had been saying, well, he hasn't been scoring enough, and then he just turns around, grabs a 147.
I'm just going to say, it would have been the first 147 of his career, which I don't think many players have done that at the Crucible, if any. I doubt anyone has, to be honest.
The only one I could probably think of is Cliff Thorburn. I imagine it was his first 147. But he acquitted himself very well. I think there was a danger of it being embarrassing at 7-0. I think winning that one frame to make it 7-1 was crucial. And I think the crucial frame for Kyren was that black ball final frame last night, where he was 11-6 up today rather than 10-7. That was huge, I think, going into today's session, because he had that 5-frame buffer, and in the end he won by 4 frames. So he constantly kept himself that many frames ahead. Jack never got to within 2 It was always 3, and then Kyren would win a frame, and so it proved at the end. And yeah, it was a good match in the end. I don't think it was the highest standard of snooker we've ever seen, but I think that's kind of representative of the tournament. I think I forgot to talk about this yesterday, but I have a bit of a conspiracy theory, Tom.
Oh God, here we go. Here we go.
All the talk this tournament has been about how tight the pockets are.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about your conspiracy theory that you told me off podcast, where you said you were sure that Jack Jones was the love child of Dennis Taylor and Cliff Thorburn. But fair enough, mate. You go ahead.
That's not true, by the way, Hazel. Obviously, all the talk was about how tight the pockets were all tournament. Yeah, in the final, I don't think they were that tight. There was lots of balls over the 2 days that wobbled in the jaws and went down. And I don't think that happened at any other point in the tournament. And I just wonder, because it was reclothed and recushioned overnight between the semi-final and the final, and they thought, oh God, we haven't had any centuries from our finalists in the semi-finals. Do we need to make them a couple of millimetres wider, a little bit easier, just so we can have a decent standard final? I don't know. I might be wrong, but they just seemed a little bit more forgiving over the 2 days, in my opinion. I haven't seen anybody else mention that.
I don't know. Listeners can let us know in the comments. Do you think the pockets were bigger for the final?
Only slightly. I don't think massively. I just feel it was quite funny that Kyren opened up with a century yesterday, and I thought it straight away. There was a couple wriggling in, just a little bit kinder than others. And there was one tonight where I think Jack Jones overcut the black slightly, and it caught the near jaw and went in quite easily in the end. It was, a bit bizarre. But one of the other controversies of today, and it involves one of our most beloved snooker characters, if not the most beloved snooker character, John Virgo. Lots of people on Twitter saying of his bias towards Jack Jones.
Sorry, what match were they watching? Had they pressed the red button for only Jack Jones comments or something? I have no idea what they're talking about. To be honest, even if there was a tiny bias, that would probably be because as a lead commentator, he's a storyteller. Your story you have to sell on that day is Jack Jones, the underdog, can make the comeback. So you do have to almost sell that story. Otherwise, no one will tune in. If someone tunes in and, Kyren is 7-1 up and you have John Virgo saying exactly what Hendry said and just going, oh yeah, it's over, there's no way he'll lose this, people would tune off. So you need people like Virgo who's going to big up Jones and give him the credit and say he can do this. Because if we all went like Hendry and said it's over, then why would anyone watch it? You need people who are... He's playing a role, and as a role as a commentator, you need to sell those stories, whether it's Kyren's doing it and his parents are here and his kids, or whether it's Jack Jones is doing it and he's the underdog. That's all he was doing. People complained so much about JV, about Dennis, and about Steve. But everyone talks about, the Crucible's been there 50 years. But these guys have been in the sport for over 40 years, and I think they deserve so much more respect from the general community for how much they've literally given their lives to the sport, like both as players and as an entertainment medium. So generally, I just think most people should give them a break.
I agree 100%. I mean, we've probably got a bit of a biased viewpoint on it, but I think John Virgo in particular, he is on top form. He is at his absolute prime of commentating. When I listened to him even 20 years ago on some of the commentary, I'm like, that doesn't even sound like John Virgo. He is at the absolute pinnacle of his commentary career. I agree with Dennis sometimes. I think Dennis is still a very much top tier commentator, but sometimes he does reel off the same patter. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you are new to the sport, I think that's very warm and welcoming. If you're somebody that is like us and watch every single match of a tournament, usually when we can, it can get a little bit repetitive. But I don't think that's a bad thing. So I think over the last few years, I think John has sort of taken it to a new level. And Steve Davis, there was a little piece in the mid-session interval in the evening session, and there was a little quote from me that just got me a little bit. And he said, "For 2/3 of my life, I've been coming here in April," and it was just wow. Davis is nearly 70, and for over 40 years, he has been coming to the Crucible every single year. And as you say, these people have dedicated their life to snooker. There's not many sports or any industries where people have given up that much of their life for the call of duty almost.
Oh, you just said that. My head went, imagine Dennis Taylor in Call of Duty as DLC.
How your mind works, Tom. But, people I can relate it to is, our late Queen Elizabeth II. It feels like she, where she went on until she couldn't anymore. I'm not so sure about that,
Joe, but okay.
She went on until she couldn't anymore when she died. And I feel like that's going to be exactly the same with John and Dennis.
This is the only podcast where you'll hear one of the co-hosts compare Dennis Taylor to the Queen. He's the Queen of Joe's heart, definitely.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Hazel. But no, I think they've had a great tournament.
Talking about
the Queen,
people. No, not talking about. No, this is not. Joe, I've told you many times. There's so many bits of this podcast I have to edit out because Joe just goes on about the royal family for ages, and I'm like, God's sake, Joe, come on, mate.
Sorry, Hazel.
Hazel is the queen of this podcast. There we go. Hazel is our queen. Yeah. Put her on a stamp. A nice quote from my grandpa, who I was watching the final with. And my grandpa's a man who, every day of the year, he'll have his lunch at about 1, and then he'll have to go for a nap in the afternoon. And there was just a beautiful quote in the final where he just rubbed his eyes a bit and he went, "Oh, I've not had a nap for 16 days. He's watched every minute of it. Every minute.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. Have you told him about our podcast, Tom?
What, so I can get him on as a guest?
What are his memories of snooker? When did he first start watching it? Do you know?
Spoke about Alex Higgins and Steve Davis earlier. We could release it and say, exclusive interview with Ronnie, and it's just my grandpa because he's got Ronnie. It's fine. Get away with it.
There's the clickbait. Yeah. Yeah. But no, let us know in the comments your favourite moments of the championship. But tomorrow, as we're recording this, today as you are listening to this, we will be recording our big World Championship 2024 review, and it would be nice to have as many inputs from you guys of what you've enjoyed from the tournament as well, and of course getting ready for the big launch tomorrow, Tom. Just
because we're talking about the final today, for me, my favourite moment of any good final is after the winners potted the final ball, they do their little lap of honour, and then they have the really lovely emotional bit with their family. And of course tonight we had Kyren giving a big hug to his brother, and they both had tears in their eyes. And then there was Kyren's 2 kids, Finley and Bailey. Come on, Daddy! Who came down to see him and gave him a hug, and they're all emotional, and it was really, really sweet. And then Kyren's youngest walked over to Jack Jones and shook his hand.
Yeah, dressed up in a full waistcoat and bow tie, by the way. Bow tie given to him by John Higgins.
I found that, well, not the Higgins fact, but the fact that he went over and shook his hand, I found that really moving in a lovely way. Like, it reminded me of Hurricane Higgins and his sort of emotional victory when he was in tears and he wanted them to bring his baby down. And it was a nice sort of emotional family moment, which I think that's really what a lot of great sport is about. And, you know, when I think of the players who've won the championship for the first time over the past 10 years, like my favourite 2 of the 4 would be Kyren and Bingham, because I felt they both got a bit emotional. You can see how much it meant to them.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Exactly. That beautiful speech that Bingham wrote. He worked on that for decades, mate. But it was a lovely sort of moment. Whereas with Judd and Luca, there was a different energy, and they were just sort of like, yeah, I'm really happy to win. Do you know what I mean? I didn't feel the same excitement from within them. It felt like they just ticked a goal off and they were really happy about it. Whereas with Kyren, with Bingham, it was a real emotional, I've spent my life trying to do this. And maybe part of it is because Bingham was 36 and Kyren is 32, so it's just slightly older, slightly more humble, and so they appreciate it more. It's probably just that.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I thought the moment where Kyren was getting the photo with the trophy, and then the camera cut to, I think, is it Bailey, that's slightly older, or is it Finn? I think Finn's the slightly older kid, and he's just shoveling all of the confetti into his arms, and I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. What a legend.
Oh, it was really funny.
It's funny because it just feel like we've never seen that before, and I think that could only ever happen at the Crucible at the end of the day, and we keep saying it, but it needs to stay at the Crucible, and what a great job Hazel Irvine did with the interviews as well, giving Kyren a tissue, just such classic moments that I know me and you will remember forever, and I'm sure lots of people that were watching at home will remember it forever as well, and when we're talking about the roaring 20s of World Snooker Finals, because we've had a fair few emotional ones, haven't we, already in the 2020s? So Ronnie with 2 titles already, Kyren getting his first one there, Mark Selby obviously winning in 21, and Luca coming out of nowhere to win it last year. So it's been a good decade so far for world champions, and long may it continue. We've got at least another 3 at the Crucible, and I don't know about you, Tom, but I feel like as the championship has gone on, I think there's been a little bit more positivity towards the Crucible, and possibly maybe the bluff being called almost, I think. I mean, we'll see. I hope what will happen is, a refurb of the Crucible, and then that'll be enough to keep it there. I think we need to keep the sort of confinement, because with how close, somebody was sick in the front row, I think, today, and one of the biggest cheers of the night was for the cleaner coming in to mop that up. Like, where else would that happen? Tell you what another hilarious moment today, when it was this afternoon when Rob was doing his introduction, and Jack Jones was almost at Rob Walker by the time Rob Walker had finished his intro, because Jack Jones had just started walking randomly. So that would have been quite an awkward moment. Just he stood there waiting to shake Rob's hand, and Rob's just saying, "No, I need to finish your intro."
That would be a good way. If there's a player who really hates the nicknames, just as soon as they hear Rob go, "and his opponent," they just sprint it down just to get to him before he can do all the guffs. So they just go, "and his opponent, Mark Allen," because he runs out of time.
But no, it's been a great championship, a memorable championship. I think lots of big moments that we'll always remember. I think that clearance from John Higgins, and all the emotion from Kyren Wilson, and a surprise finalist. So we will remember this World Championship forever, and I'm sure we will. Well, we will go into it in big depth tomorrow. But in terms of the final, I think that about says it all. Really, is that I think the person that won it deserved to win it, and well done to Jack Jones for making a damn good fist of it.
100%, and a nice little bit of symmetry, really, because yesterday we were talking about the song that the snooker players released during COVID, and there was a lovely moment during Kyren's speech where he said, "My other final, I was robbed of an audience because it was during coronavirus," and you can tell how much it meant to him to have those people there in that room, in that venue, and that felt like a nice little bit of justice, really, that he got to experience that.
Absolutely, yeah. Fair play. Well done, Kyren. Shall we cue the music, because it is related to the World Snooker Final, Tom?
Ooh, yes, okay.
So, I don't know how much of the coverage you have watched this evening.
Was it the rap?
It was the rap, yes.
Genuinely, when that started, I was thinking, I've got to tell Joe, we've literally got the most topical cue to music we've ever had.
It's Cue the Music, yes. So I have taken the liberty, Tom, to upload that to our YouTube channel. It's unlisted at the moment, but we will release it at some point because we're going to, as well as do all of our new podcasts and little bits and pieces on there, we're going to try and upload some of the things that we talk about. So all our Cue the Laughters and Cue the Musics, we're just going to try and keep them in a central place. So, when we eventually find Joe Johnson's version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, that's where that will end up, so that all of you guys can enjoy it. But there you go, Tom, there's the link. And as soon as I seen it, I turned to Rachel, I went, it's a Cue the Music.
I don't think we've had a song from 2024 apart from ones that we've bought on Memo, so this will be, it's a new rap song, not a new rap song, a new snooker song, and a new rap song. I guess it covers both. Do we know the guy who's done it? Is this his name? K. Dot?
I think so. World Final Rap is what I'm going to call it, by K. Dot, is it?
Yeah, there's a bit at the start where it says introducing K. Dot, and he's got a gold necklace that says K. Dot on it. So I presume that's his name.
It is now. It was the evening session. It was after the titles rolled, before we got to Hazel's Good Evening, Everybody. It was, one of the silly things. I think last year they had John Virgo reading a poem. They always do this sort of stuff, and that's what I absolutely love the BBC's coverage for this. I think it's so underrated, these actual little tidbits that, go along with their coverage. And the feature with Steve Davis at the interval, just brilliant, talking about the Crucible. I think everything is done to perfection, and really underrated. Yeah, it's 1 minute 3, Tom. I listened to it at the time, thought it was a Cue the Music, so here you go.
Yeah. 47 years. Who's gonna take it? Yeah? Snooker, the game that's beautiful. It wouldn't be the same if it weren't at the Crucible. It belongs in the city of steel. No other city in the world is suitable. It's been a long 17 days. Jack Jones is silent whenever he plays. That's why they call him assassin. He came through and got better each stage. Jack came through when he's Jack Jones. Determination, heart and backbone. But Kyren's a warrior, Wilson. Down to the last two, trust me, it's that close. 32 players trying to make it to glory. Down to just 2 who's taking a trophy. 47 years of history. Now who's gonna take their place in the story? 2 weeks it took, but day by day, break off by break, frame by frame, get down to the Crucible, take 5 minutes the final, see 2 great guys play. The best man win at the end of the day, may they congratulate, say thy name. Next year you'll have to defend your title in case when it comes trying to take that place.
And isn't that just fabulous?
Someone says to me, we're going to open the coverage of the Crucible with someone doing a rap about snooker. Part of me instantly cringes and thinks it's going to be like the Romford rap, or it's going to be a really naff rap that's written by someone who clearly doesn't know much about the genre and just thinks, I'm going to rhyme snooker with poker or something ridiculous. But this, that's the start of my snooker rap coming out next year, by the way. Snooker Pooker.
Yeah, I can see why you didn't make it as a musician, Tom.
Not yet, mate. Not yet.
Keep the faith.
But yeah, this, though, the fact it's a lad who, I presume he's from Sheffield. He sounds like he's from Sheffield. So I imagine he's a local lad. The fact it actually starts with him going, the Crucible's the place and Sheffield's where it has to stay, something along those lines, actually makes it quite powerful and quite pointed, and I'm just like, fair bloody play for getting someone to say that, because that's what most of the fans are feeling, regardless of what the Hearns say.
Or Hossein Vafai.
Yeah, but that is the voice of the fans. Them going, keep it here. So I thought that's really good. I'm like, fair play. The rap was really good. I enjoyed the bit about him being on his Jack Jones. Nice bit of wordplay. Yeah. Nice bit at the end about you got to defend your title because Ronnie's coming. Really good. I just thought that was damn good. Really good, actually.
Yeah, 100%. And I love how it was contextualised to the final that we were watching. I think that's its biggest compliment. It wasn't just something they've had in the can for 6 months. That's clearly been made over the last 48 hours. And that's really cool. That's really cool. That's happened. Will it age particularly well? You know, could we listen to it in 4 years' time and still be impressed by it? I don't know, but at the moment it feels very, as you say, pointed. It feels very relevant. And it brings us on to another thing of the Crucible Curse, which we haven't talked about yet, but I'm sure we will in a little bit, about Kyren's chances with that. Yeah, in terms of how we rate this, it's actually quite a tricky one, because there's very little at fault with it. I think perhaps the only fault for me is that it kind of makes out that the only World Championship history that exists is Crucible World Championship history.
I'm sure most people, the general snooker loving public, wouldn't know Joe Davis. So I can see what you mean. K. Dot, that was the guy's name, isn't it? K. Dot.
Ken Doherty.
Oh my God! So this is right. Ken Doherty. He's got on a bit of a career change, but he's absolutely nailing it, mate. Like, he's much better than his snooker loopy. So well done, K. Dot.
Crafty K. Dot.
Oh, we need to get Ken to do a parody video with like the gold K. Dot chain and everything. Ken's the name, Doherty's the game, doing all stuff like that. I just think that was proper solid. I thought it was really, really good. I liked the fact it had nice bits of wordplay. It referenced snooker players, which we always love. We've always said that. And frankly, you know, props to K. Dot, because he probably, as you said, was told, right, can you write this rap and film it in 48 hours? And he got the job done, and he smashed it. So
the other thing with it is, you were saying the filming, the video of it was very good. You know, it wasn't just music. You know, we had clips of former world champions. It was just really well put together as a full package. But go on, tell us your rating, Tom.
There's a nice bit there, 21 seconds in, where you just see a pigeon walking. I like to think that's like a niche little reference. Like someone knows their snooker and they want to put little references in there. I would genuinely say this is the best song we've had for quite a while. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10.
You know what, Tom? I completely agree with you. I'm going to give it a 9 as well. That gives it an average of 9, of course, and that will put it in at a very, very neat number 4. Just behind the Mark Selby snooker song. Well, it's level with the Mark Selby snooker song, but it has gone above the snooker song Big Break. That had an 8.75 average, and of course it usurps Everlasting Love by Joe Johnson.
We've admitted on probably every podcast since that we made a mistake with Everlasting Love.
Yes.
So we can only apologise. But if K. Dot wants to release a version that has maybe Joe Johnson singing the chorus, and we could sort of put them together, that would be a 10 out of 10. So
yes.
If K. Dot's listening, or Joe Johnson, then please, I'd love you two to do the most unlikely collab I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Hey, but, you know, I thought it was great. So kudos to K. Dot for that one. But he has reminded us about the Crucible Curse, Tom. And, of course, that will be returning next year. How do you rate Kyren's chances going into it? I think he's going to acquit himself really well as a world champion next season. A little bit like Bingham, as long as he doesn't join the breakaway tour. But we're going to assume, for the purposes of this video, he doesn't.
Again, it depends on the draw. We saw how strong the qualifiers were this year. Jack Jones, of course, a qualifier. Stuart Bingham, qualifier. John Higgins could very well be a qualifier by this time next year. Jack Lisowski, we don't really know. It could be Sean Murphy. All sorts of different people could drop out.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say until we know the draw. But I would have to say, looking at Kyren's previous runs at the Crucible, he's got a far better record than obviously Luca had. Luca had never won. Then he won it, and everyone was going, could he be like Joe Johnson? And it's like, no, he wasn't. But Kyren at least has shown regularly he's not a player who you go, oh, I don't fancy him as a seed. He's not like some of the seeds where you think, they might be in trouble. I think Kyren is a seed. Even before he won it, he's a seed you'd want to avoid. Because you saw what he did with Dominic Dale. Like, he's not someone who messes around and trips up too often at the Crucible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'd definitely back him to get to the quarters onwards. But as you say, you know, number 16 in the world could well be John Higgins next year, or Sean Murphy, or Lisowski, or anybody who are very, very dangerous in a round 2 for Kyren Wilson. with a lot of pressure on him.
Well, just you saying that, I've just realised, with Jack Jones obviously being a very surprise finalist, there is a better chance than usual that Jack Jones could be 16th.
Yeah, I think that would replicate what happened in perhaps 2014. I think Ronnie might have played Hawkins in round 2. Something like that, anyway. And, you know, it was a repeat of last year's final. Obviously, the odds are against him. There'll be 31 other players at the Crucible that also have a chance. So I think he'll fancy it. He'll fancy at least getting to the quarters.
I think especially with how strongly he won this championship. Because you were saying the other day that Jack Jones hadn't dropped a session. And I don't believe Kyren dropped more than one session, if that. I don't know for certain, but I know, obviously we know, he didn't drop much against Dominic Dale. Against Gilbert, they were drawing, and then he pulled away. Against Jack Jones, he was ahead for the whole match. It was close and tense at the end, but generally across the championship, very impressive. He wasn't in trouble really at all in any of his matches. So if anyone's going to be a confident champion, you'd think it would be him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And as you say, you know, he won all of his matches pretty comfortably.
It's difficult at any time to win another World Championship after your first one here. So whoever eventually does do that, it's going to be some feat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's if anyone does do it, it'd be very special. I mean, for me, it'd be nice if if anyone wins it, it's nice for them. But if Kyren goes on to win it, he's someone around my own age group. It'd be nice to have that sort of friendly rivalry for years to come. So,
right, Joe, shall we cue the laughter? People who followed us over the Crucible will know that a few of our Cue the Laughters over the past few days and weeks have been Joe looking at the programmes from different years and quizzing me on the top 16. And an idea we had for today was for Joe to again quiz me on the top 16 for the start of this World Championship. But we thought we'd mix it up today. We'll look at the programme more in depth during our World Championship review, I'm sure. But for today, I'm going to quiz Joe on the top 16. And he even said he might try and guess the qualifiers as well. So we will see how that goes.
Oh dear, I'm going to fall flat on my face here, aren't I?
I've got the Crucible seedings as they were before the championship, Joe. They're up in front of me. Do you want to try and attempt them in order? Are you that confident?
I'm not that confident, I don't think, but I'll try and go in order as much as I can.
Much like with Joe, if he's struggling with any, I'll be able to give him some tips or hints. And he's got 3 strikes for the top 16, or it goes up to 6 strikes for the qualifiers as well, if he gets to that stage.
Ooh, so I carry me strikes over. So, Luca Brissell was number 1 seed. Ronnie was number 2.
Yep.
Judd, number 3.
Yes.
Mark Allen, number 4.
Yep, now number 1.
Selby, number 5.
Yes.
This is where it gets tricky. Have a feeling that like Murphy was number 8 or something silly like that. So
okay, he's jumped ahead, but Murphy is correct. Number 8.
Oh, Murphy is number 8. I was just trying to whittle down. I think Mark Williams. Is he number 6?
He is, yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Doing this in order is so much harder. Number 7.
Because you're doing it in order, I can give you some sort of clues.
Go on
help.
then. Go on.
Okay, number 7, former finalist.
Okay. Former finalist. Is it Ali Carter?
No.
Okay.
Ali Carter's number 9.
Yeah, I thought look, Ali Carter would be lower. Former finalist. Graham, no, I'm joking. It's not.
He's a former champion, I'll have you know, mate.
Former finalist. Can't be Hawkins. He was number 15, I think.
Lost to Mark Selby, and yes, Hawkins was 15.
Was it Dean?
Ding.
Wow,
Ding
I'm
seventh,
surprised
yep.
Ding is ranked as high as he is.
I think he's had 2 very good UK championships recently, or do you know what I mean? He's done that again. He's done for the past few years where he wins a big title, and but to be fair, it does say he won 73 grand at is this the World Open? Was that a recent event?
I suppose he did. Yeah, he did okay in that one. Right. Okay. So Ding, then Murphy, then Carter. Zhang under number 10.
Zhang's 11.
Oof. Kyren's number 12.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
Number 10 has a similarity with Kyren.
Oh, Gary.
Yes, Gary Wilson. The Wilson brothers.
Wow. Okay, so we've got Wilson at 10, then Zhang 11, Kyren 12, Milkman is 16.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 more seeds I need to get.
13 and 14 you need.
Just going through the first round matches, trying to work out who I'm missing. It's been so tough to do it in. Well, Higgins is number 13, I think.
Yep.
So who's number 14? Who is the last seed? Who've I forgotten about? Tom Ford.
There we go. Ford Escort. I thought you were going to forget a man you went to see there, Joe. That would have been heartbreaking for him.
It's still baffling that he's in the top 16, but yeah.
Well, he's had a cracking season, to be fair to him. You know, all he's missing is a title, really.
Yeah.
And a nickname.
There you go. So that's the 16 seeds done. Now I have to try the qualifiers. So, Gilbert, Pang,
yep,
Dominic Dale, Joe Connor, Ricky Walden, Bingham,
yep,
C. Jarwee, Jack Jones.
Somehow coming in 8th in the list is Jack Jones, the beaten finalist.
I was going to leave him to last, but then I panicked and thought, oh no. Maguire. So what's that? That's 9. 7 to go. This is tougher than it looks, Tom. This is tougher than it looks. Did I say Lazowski? I think I did, didn't I?
I don't think you did.
Okay, Lazowski. No, I said Gilbert first, didn't I? Lazowski. Vafai. Jamie Jones.
Yep.
Robbie Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Liu Haishan.
Yes.
So that's 14, so I've got 2 left. Is that right?
Yeah.
2 left. Oh dear. Liu Haishan. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody very obvious here.
Both the remaining players are Welsh.
Oh, Ryan Day.
Yep.
Oh, Jackson Page.
Yay! He's
There
got
we
them
go.
all and didn't use any lifelines.
That's not too bad, is it? I used the hints, so we'll count those as some lifelines, but I wouldn't have got there without the hints, to be fair, Tom. So, thank you very much.
Let's not get too carried away, because Joe has literally just remembered people who qualified 15 days ago. So.
Yeah, and now he's going to test me on all of the 128 players in the qualifiers.
Joe, who currently is ranked 129?
Stephen Hendry.
Correct. Who currently is ranked 126?
Rhiannon Evans. Oh no, is it Rebecca Kenner, actually?
It's Rebecca Kenner, yeah.
I think Rhiannon Evans is something like 108.
123.
Oh, okay.
Let's choose some more random numbers to see if Joe gets them.
He won't. His luck's ran out now.
Let's try. Where is he? Come on. Where are you? Where are you? Okay, who at the end of the season will be ranked 111?
Jimmy White?
No.
111. Fergal?
Yes!
Hey!
And, you know, fair play to Jack, but if you look back at this tournament, no one got close to you. No one. Only John Higgins. He's the only person who got close to him. He absolutely went through it like knife through butter.
I felt like that was the game that set me up for it. I knew that, you know, you're always going to bump into a heavyweight.
Yeah,
and John was that heavyweight for me. And obviously he spanked me last year. I just hold him in such high regard.
Of course.
He did a beautiful thing, actually, after I beat him. He gave his dicky bow to Bailey. And he said, I believe your dad's going to win it this year, and I want to remember it by giving you this dicky bow.
Fantastic.
So hopefully one day you see the boys on the big stage and they've got John's dicky bow on. Who knows?
Mate, I've just realised you've been proven right, because Kyren was commentating and doing punditry, doing interviews during his match. He's won the title.
Yep, he's won the title. So there you go. Big one to all of your Murphy haters. Yeah.
I've never wished that we were filming this for a video more than that one.
Well, I can tell you now, Tom, I wouldn't have been doing that on a video. But there you go. And also, we didn't mention this yesterday, but Rob Walker said, let's get the boys on the bass yesterday.
Yeah, he brought it back just for the final.
Yeah, he must have been listening to the podcast.
And how great were those introductions? Like, they came out and for some reason they had two women opening the doors, which I wasn't really keen on. It feels a bit reductive. And
they've done that since 2011, weirdly. I don't know what it was, but yeah, that John Higgins and Judd Trump final session, they always seem to do that. And they're trying to make it feel like darts, aren't they? And it's just a bit weird.
It just reminds me of the snooker shootout. I think the first year they did it, it was sponsored by
Pornhub? Oh, sorry.
the Pornhub Snooker Shootout.
Oh, that's next year's shootout. Sorry.
Let's get the boys on the bed.
And look at those shoes.
The players would come out with, you know, attractive women on their arms. And it just looks weird when it's Nigel Bond.
Well, I mean, that's how Jimmy White met his darling wife.
Wait, which wife? He's probably had a few, right?
The one he's currently with.
But yeah, I didn't really like the weird bit of the women opening the doors. But then I liked the rest of it. They go on this little pedestal, which I don't think I've seen that before. And they kind of... Is that new? I
think they've done it in the past. I think it was higher because they've made like a little platform. They've made the sides of the sort of advertising boardings much taller this year, and I think that had something to do with what happened last year at the World Championship. But I think because that was so much higher, that they were almost on a podium when they were stood on it. But it was cool. It was cool, and I always like how they play the dun. They do that at the start of every Triple Crown final now.
It's iconic now, isn't it?
Yeah. And in general, I've loved the sort of electronic boards where it pops up frame 28, frame 31. I think it's really cool. It's really modernised the tournament almost, just with that.
Where snooker, Loopy.
Of course, our next protocol after this World Championship will be the World Seniors starting on Wednesday, Tom. There's no rest for the wicked.
They don't give us a break, do they? They don't give us a break. I'm sure they literally get a contract with a Crucible where they go, you get it for 3 weeks, and then you get the 4th week for half price. So they go, right, put the seniors right after the main thing. Because I don't know why it is so close to the actual event. And we've said before, haven't we? We think it would probably be a better event if it was at the start of the season or something. Because having it right after the main event, you know, it's a bit like having the FA Cup at Wembley, and then the week after you have the League Cup at Wembley, and everyone goes, well, why do we care about the League Cup when you don't want your main before your starter? Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of mentality.
I think do it before the event, a little bit like the Masters Golf, how they have a par 3 tournament just before and all of the old legends play in the par 3 event. I think that would be really awesome. Obviously, you'd have to try and time it so that when Jimmy White's playing his Judgment Day match, he's not also playing in the World Seniors final.
Well, when this year is the first year, it'll be televised on terrestrial TV. It'll be on Channel 5, whereas previously it's been on BBC Sport or the Red Button, but this time it'll actually be live on TV, and they've changed the format a bit. I think they've added in a 30-second shot clock or something like that to speed it along. So it'll be interesting to see how the players play. Detrat Poomjang's in it, so he's always brilliant. He'll be a laugh. He's always really funny. And it's always a nice tournament, isn't it? Because it's kind of serious, but kind of not, and it is just a real... It is that thing where it's just a celebration of some of the big characters and big names in the game.
No, looking forward to it. I must admit, I looked more forward to it when Dennis and John Parrott and Steve Davis and the likes used to play in it. Even Stephen Hendry's not playing in it this year. So, a bit of a shame, really. But, there's still some cracking players in there. Your Crafty Ken's there. And fingers crossed for Crafty to win it, because I don't know if you remember, Tom, he was 4-0 up against Jimmy White in a best-of-9 and lost it 5-4. And Ken would become the only player to win the World Junior, World Amateur, World Championship and World Seniors title.
It would be lovely to see Ken do that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's strange with Jimmy, because when he first won the World Seniors at the Crucible, it felt like a real moment of redemption, and we were like, God, he's finally won a title at the Crucible, and it's a world title, and it's amazing. But now he's won it about 4 or 5 times. Everyone's like, oh, not Jimmy White winning again, which seems absurd.
It's crazy, because Jimmy White generally plays very well in these tournaments, and it's like, why can't you do that on tour?
He's flying in practice.
Which he did last season. He had a great season last year. Never mind. But well done, Kyren. Those are my final words on this channel, Tom.
Yes, well done, Kyren. And of course, as Joe just said, this will be the final Snooker Loopy upload on this channel. We're going over to the official Snooker Loopy podcast YouTube channel, which now has over 50 subscribers without a video, which I think is bonkers. But thank you guys so much if you've jumped over there, and we'll have all sorts of different uploads, little features, little things here and there, and of course our World Championship review that'll be coming, well, tomorrow as you listen to this. And there'll be nice video footage, there'll be other bits and bobs on the channel. It'll generally just be a nice little hub for us to do everything related to the podcast, but also probably other stuff related to snooker that we've not had a place for before, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a joint venture, and lots of exciting things to come. But before we go, Tom, a big thank you to you, especially for the idea, the concept behind this podcast, and for all the time that you have put into this podcast over the last couple of years, all the money you've wasted on various bits of tat and various players singing Snooker Loopy. I mean, had you saved all of that money, perhaps you'd be a millionaire by now. In Del Boy's words. No, thank you for all of your hard work, and thank you to all of the people on Tom's channel who have supported the podcast and who have come along. And make sure you do stick around on Tom's channel, because he's a cracking stand-up comedian, and he never fails to make me laugh with one of his videos. So do stick around on Tom's channel.
Oh, mate, that was a lovely message. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And do you know what? I'm just really glad that, especially I would say over the past 6 months, it's felt like this podcast is kind of taking off a little bit, and it's growing, and more people know about it, and we're getting all sorts of different people interacting, and it's just really lovely, because that was the whole idea of us setting it up, really, is that me and you, we both love snooker, we both love being silly, and we love all the weirdness about it, and it's nice to know there's other people out there who enjoy that and appreciate that, because just where else in the world could you just randomly go, I want to just send some random guys a recording of me singing Snooker Loopy. Like, nowhere. There was nowhere before this podcast, so I'm really glad we've set it up and we've got this little community going, and hopefully, eventually, it will at the very least lead to us re-releasing Everlasting Love by Joe Johnson.
We've all got to have goals.